You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4, moving forward.
Good afternoon and welcome to Live at 4.
We begin this Tuesday afternoon with a developing story. The Monona Grove School District says a student made a non-credible threat toward a school on social media.
The parents of the student were contacted, and the district says no students were ever in any danger and it didn't need to implement its standard crisis response. A statement from the district reads in part, while privacy laws prohibit us from discussing discipline or other consequences of any specific individual, we can assure you that any student found responsible for making threats of violence will face consequences as allowable by both district policy as well as state and local laws. A community safety meeting will be held on February 13th to talk about policies regarding possible threats. That meeting had been organized prior to this incident.
The other big story today, of course, is the weather, and the Polar Express rolls on. Here's Alex with the forecast.
Still going choo-choo, right? I actually like taking a look here at our first warn weather cam. This really tells the story. It looks beautiful out there. You want to say, hey, let's go outside. But guess what? It's only 15 degrees and it feels only like 6. Deceptive sunshine. It looks nice out there, but it really isn't quite all that nice for January readings. Now, you can expect this for January, but this is on the cold side. Wind chills right now, 6 in Madison, 5 in Lone Rock, 2 right now in the Dells, and -5 still. So it still feels below 0 up in Juneau County. So we plan our evening for southern Wisconsin. Temperatures going down into the single digits and the wind chills going back down into the single digits below 0. Although tomorrow morning won't be quite as cold as what we experienced this morning and Monday morning. As part of the 3 things you need to get out of the forecast, we'll do about -10 at coldest Wednesday morning. Tracking a little light snow Wednesday, but you might want this snow because the snow is actually being caused by warm air moving back in before the Polar Express comes roaring back in by the time we get to Sunday. More on the snow. We'll track it, how much you can expect, and what I'm looking at for wind chill values come early next week in a little bit.
But you know what I've noticed, Alex? You know how much the days are getting longer now?
Yes.
But Live at 4 starts, it's still light outside.
Yes, yay.
We're turning a corner.
We'll take everything we can get.
Yes. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
Well, we just received an update on the conditions of 2 Abundant Life Christian school shooting victims.
UW Health says the 2 patients receiving care at American Family Children's Hospital are improving. They're now both considered to be in, quote, good condition.
And we have an update on the case of the suspicious death from last October. Madison police say they're referring first-degree homicide charges against James Barnes Morris in connection to 24-year-old Brooke Stratton's death. Police say Barnes Morris was the last known person with Brooke seen together in the area of Odana Road and Whitney Way. Someone reported Brooke missing on October 1st. On October 3rd, crews found a body in a pond on the property of UW-Madison's Arboretum. By the 8th, they'd publicly identified the remains as belonging to Stratton and said her death was suspicious. Barnes Morris has been in the Dane County Jail since police found Stratton's body on unrelated charges. The Dane County District Attorney's Office is reviewing whether to bring official charges against him.
We also have an update this afternoon on a case in Sun Prairie where police are investigating the disappearance of 27-year-old Ingrid Isamar Valverde Ponce. Police say officers arrested a person of interest for providing false information to them during the investigation. The man is currently in the Dane County Jail. Ingrid's family reported her missing on Sunday. Anyone who thinks they've seen Ingrid or has any relevant information regarding her disappearance should call the Sun Prairie Police Department. The number is 608-837-7336.
Taking a live look at the state capitol where the assembly has just approved of a resolution. This April, you'll find a question on your ballot asking whether requiring a Wisconsin photo ID to vote should be part of the state's constitution. Bringing a photo ID to the polls has been a requirement under state law since 2011, but adding it to the Constitution would make it harder for a future legislature, one with more Democrats, to change that law, which they've long opposed.
A little less than a month after the deadly shooting at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Governor Tony Evers is taking executive action today.
He signed an executive order to create a new state agency. Political reporter Will Keneally is at the Capitol with the latest.
Yeah, that state agency is called the Office of Violence Prevention, and its goal is to do exactly that. Governor Evers says it will work with local agencies like law enforcement or school districts to develop violence prevention programs. Now, he says that the state can also award grants through the agency to people like firearm dealers to help support their violence prevention initiatives. Now, the governor signed this executive order earlier today.
This should never happen, not to any kid, not to any educator, not to any person or family, not in the state or anywhere in this country. I've said from the beginning that I would never accept gun violence as a foregone reality or stop working to change it, and that's why we're here today.
Now, it's one thing to create a state agency, but if you want it to be effective, you have to fund it. Now, Evers is putting $10 million of federal pandemic aid towards it right now, but this sets a budget fight with legislative Republicans to fund it going into the future. And we'll hear more from Republicans coming up tonight at 5. Reporting from the state capitol, Will Keneally, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Will. Violent crime has gone down and community partnership has gone up. That's the message Police Chief Sean Barnes wanted to share in his 2025 State of Public Safety address.
This is his last as police chief in Madison as he prepares to leave for the same job in Seattle. Arman Rahman breaks down some of the numbers.
Police Chief Sean Barnes' State of Public Safety address included not just crime statistics for the past year of 2024, but for the entire 4 years of Barnes' tenure as he prepares to step down. According to the chief's numbers, Madison saw a 40% decrease in homicides from 2023 for a total of 6. 3 of those happened in the beginning of December, 3 were domestic, and in 2, the parties knew each other. Crimes of aggravated battery, shots fired, robberies and burglaries, and car theft all went down, but there were 20% more thefts from vehicles, a total of 742 in 2024.
As you can see from those numbers, that's still a 50% reduction from 2020. What we saw was we had several crime patterns that popped up on us rather quickly. Often when people are looking into vehicles, they look in more than one.
Barnes was chosen to be Seattle's next police chief during the same week of the tragic shooting at Abundant Life Christian School. He says that investigation is taking longer due to several subpoenas to social media companies. Barnes is transitioning out of Madison after a tough month for the entire city. Find out how he feels about where the department is situated and what goals the interim chief has when he takes over tonight at 6. For now, reporting in downtown Madison, Arman Rahman, News 3 Now.
Armand, thank you. Assistant Police Chief John Patterson will be the interim chief when Barnes steps down in February.
The judge overseeing the Ridgeland Farms case is requesting the Dane County DA and Wisconsin Attorney General help prosecute the dog breeding and research facility in Blue Mounds. In October, former workers, an animal rights group, and an animal rescuer testified at a hearing seeking to provide enough evidence to move the case forward. The judge appointed a special prosecutor to the case, saying that hearing provided enough evidence to meet a burden of proof. In her letter, the judge said the DA's office received evidence of the conditions at Ridgeland at least 7 times over the past 6 years, and DA Ishmael Ozan, quote, clearly demonstrated a refusal to prosecute. The letter says multiple of Ridgeland's actions have violated state law, including the mutilation of dogs' vocal cords and eyes. Neither the DA's office nor the AG's office has commented on the letters. We've contacted Ridgeland Farms and its attorney multiple times. They have also not commented on this matter. The judge asked both offices to respond to her request by January 27th.
Tonight, the Madison Common Council will take up a proposal to restructure the ownership of the Hartmeyer and Madison Ice Arenas. Nonprofit Madison Ice Inc. has owned the 2 rinks since 2004, but since the pandemic, it's been struggling financially, currently more than $1.5 million in debt to the city of Madison. This proposal would forgive that debt if a new nonprofit, East Madison Ice Collective, takes over Hartmeyer. That nonprofit would then be tasked with raising $3 million for capital improvements, like repairing the arena's roof. Madison Ice Inc. would continue to own the West Side Ice Arena and could even use some of its operational funds on improvements.
Still ahead on Live at 4, confirmation hearings are underway for the president-elect's cabinet nominees.
The question: senators asked Trump's pick to lead the Department of Defense about his past, when Live at 4 continues.
On Capitol Hill, confirmation hearings are underway for President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet picks.
Today, Army National Guard veteran and former Fox News host Pete Hegseth was the first to be questioned by senators. Natalie Brand reports from Washington, D.C.
Democratic lawmakers wasted no time grilling President-elect Trump's defense secretary pick, Pete Hegseth, on excessive drinking and sexual misconduct allegations.
You've admitted that you had sex at that hotel on October 2017. You said it was consensual, isn't that correct? How do you explain your judgment?
Completely false charges against me.
You
fully investigated, and I was completely clear.
You have
Some senators expressed concerns about Hegseth's ability to manage the Pentagon's nearly $1 trillion budget, citing his handling of finances at two veterans nonprofits.
By the time you left, that organization had deep debts, including credit card transaction debts of about $75,000.
Republican Joni Ernst, a veteran herself, questioned Hegseth about the role of women in the military, given Hegseth's past comments that women should not serve in combat roles.
As Secretary of Defense, will you support women continuing to have the opportunity to serve in combat roles?
Yes, women will have access to ground combat roles, given the standards remain high.
A month ago, Hegseth's confirmation appeared in jeopardy, with several Republicans expressing concerns. But since then, President-elect Trump and his allies have rallied around the former Fox News host.
I can't speak for everybody else, but I'd be shocked if anybody voted against him.
Hegseth can afford to lose no more than 3 Republican votes on the Senate floor if all Democrats oppose his nomination. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The committee is expected to approve Hegseth's nomination for a full Senate vote, but some Republican senators have yet to confirm whether or not they will vote for him when that time comes. Tomorrow, senators will question Trump's picks to lead the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security.
The hearings come as the president-elect deals with his own allegations of sexual abuse. Trump is asking a federal appeals court to revisit its decision upholding a verdict finding he sexually abused E. Jean Carroll in the 90s. Trump's attorneys say the testimony from 2 other women who've accused him of sexual assault should not have been allowed during the civil trial.
Congress now has access to part of the DOJ's report on Special Prosecutor Jack Smith's investigation into President-elect Trump. The 130-page report contains mostly already known details of Trump's alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. In it, Smith said he believes he had enough evidence to convict Trump. Attorney General Merrick Garland does not intend on releasing the second part of the report, which contains information on Trump's alleged hoarding of classified documents at Mar-a-Lago.
Trump's responding to the release, posting on his Truth Social platform. He says President Biden orchestrated the investigation in order to harm him. Smith responded directly to that claim in the report, saying his decisions as a prosecutor were not influenced or directed by the Biden administration.
Nearly 90,000 people in Los Angeles County are under evacuation orders this afternoon as fires continue to ravage thousands of acres of land. The California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection says the Eaton and Palisades fires rank among the deadliest and most destructive in the state's history. The Eaton fire killed at least 16 people, the Palisades fire at least 8. Officials expect those numbers are actually larger. While FEMA assistance is available for people impacted, Republican lawmakers are considering attaching conditions to more aid to the state of California. House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke multiple times to the press about that possibility this week.
I think there should probably be conditions on that aid. That's my personal view. We'll see what the consensus is.
You've heard the word conditions on aid. We're not projecting in advance what this will be. First of all, you have to understand the fires are still raging, and no one knows what the ultimate cost will be.
Johnson has not elaborated on what those conditions would look like, but added Republicans don't want to leave any Americans behind.
Israel and Hamas are the closest they've been in months to striking a hostage ceasefire deal. Negotiations are still underway, but both Hamas and Israeli leaders have signaled they are ready to come to an agreement. The first phase would release 33 hostages in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners currently in Israeli jails. The second stage would end Israel's war in Gaza and would begin on the 16th day of the deal's implementation. Officials expect an agreement by the end of this week.
Federal records show that government inspectors documented unsanitary conditions at several Boar's Head deli meat plants, not just the one shut down last year after a deadly outbreak of listeria poisoning. Reports show instances of meat residue left on equipment and walls, condensation falling on food, mold, and insects. Those problems date back 6 years. In a report last week, the USDA blamed the outbreak mostly on the unsanitary conditions at the company's plant in Virginia. Boar's Head says the conditions in those factories do not meet its high standards.
And our cold weather just keeps coming, and I see a graphic behind Alex that says Arctic blast. That concerns me.
Going like this because it keeps coming.
Keeps on going.
It keeps coming. Yes, we do have another Arctic blast on the way as part of the 3 things you got to know. Cold tonight, not dangerously cold, but still feeling bitterly cold, -10 wind chills. We'll look at that in a moment. Adding a little snow to our forecast too, because before the next Arctic blast, we actually have a big wild temperature swing that I'm going to show you as well. Future track wind chills tomorrow morning, 8:30 in the morning, -5 in Madison, -7 in Boscobel, and still approaching -10 to the north up towards Camp Douglas, Marquette, and Green Lake counties. The forecast so for tomorrow, a little bit better. We'll go for highs in the lower 20s. It's just a few degrees below normal. The skies will start to turn a little bit more on the cloudy side later in the day, and this is out ahead of a weak weather system that's going to start ushering in warmer air. 6 o'clock, maybe a few snow showers. Camp Douglas up towards Adams County. As we go towards 8 o'clock, those few scattered snow showers across the rest of southern Wisconsin, including Madison, Watertown, Juneau, Lone Rock, and Mineral Point. And then they're out of here by the time you join us again tomorrow night at that 10 o'clock newscast. And this is a little push of warm air. It could bring us a dusting of snow, maybe a ½ inch. We've seen this a couple of times now. Don't let your guard down come Thursday morning. A slick spot or two we can't rule out because it doesn't take much in the way of snow and or ice to cause some slick roads. Here's the warm air, though, behind that little bit of snow. 35 Thursday, 41 on Friday. You want a temperature swing? Get ready. This is a big one. 41 to 3. I mean, that's a 40-degree drop nearly in just 48 hours. That's all we're going to do Monday is a high of 3 degrees. So bottom line, -10 wind chills tonight, 40 by Friday. Alert day cold expected early next week. You should stick around and check out the next part of our 4:30 to 5 o'clock newscast. Those alert day conditions on Monday and Tuesday. I'll break down how cold we can expect those wind chills to get. This is some nifty data from December 1st to about now. Our average temperature has been 33 degrees. That's the third warmest during this entire period, over a 156-year period. Again, December 1st to now, average has been 22 degrees, and you'd think, gosh, with all this cold air we've had, that we'd be much colder than that. Don't forget, in December, we had all of those really, really warm days, with one of the most recent ones being right around New Year's with temperatures near 50 degrees. So it's balancing out to still being above normal, even though it's been so cold on and off. And I want to call out this picture here from Lake Delton. Carrie, here's another one of those deceptively sunny skies. When the sun's out and it's this cold, you think I'm going to step out into something nice. And it's a little bit different than nice. Thank you, though, Carrie, for sending us that photo. That QR code is there for you folks in the upper left to scan so we can get your photos and show your photos here on air.
Thank you, Alex. Like you were saying, Susan, any little sliver of sunlight is much appreciated.
It's very helpful.
Well, coming up on Live at 4, Caring Crafts.
How a local group is working to keep our veterans warm during this bitter stretch of cold weather. Welcome back. A group of crafters in Watertown is celebrating its 14th year of spreading kindness to people across Wisconsin.
The Caring Crafters, as they're called, mostly consists of older adults putting together knit products like washcloths, chemo hats, and blankets. Part of what the group does is providing blankets to veterans who are struggling through the Heat and Housing for Heroes initiative. Doing so because they saw a need to help out.
Because we know it's appreciated, we know there's a need for these things, and we can fill the need. And it gives us a satisfaction and a joy to know that if somebody needs a chemo hat, we can take care of that for them, or somebody needs a blanket, we can take care of that for them.
Keep up the good work, everyone. The group consists of about 40 different volunteers, and they tell us that while it sometimes can be hard for people to find ways to help out in their communities, even a small thing like knitting makes a big difference.
Everybody wants to help in some way, but they don't know how to start. This is, even if you do just something small, you can get things out there and make a big difference.
The group meets in the basement of the Watertown Senior Center, and they're always looking for yarn. You can help them make a difference by donating to them. You can also directly help struggling veterans by contacting the Keeping Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund.
They look like a fun group, too.
I want to go visit them.
I would, too. I would, too. I need to learn how to cast off. I can knit a scarf, but I can't get it off the needles.
That can be a little tricky.
Gotta go over there.
New hobbies for us.
Yeah, there you go.
Coming up on Live at 4, how a local content creator is feeling about a potential ban on TikTok.
Plus, our Merrill Hubbard brings us the arguments before the state Supreme Court today in the fight between the DNR and businesses that pollute. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4, moving forward.
Let's take a look outside on this tube. Boy, that's a cold picture. Everybody, this guy's running. That's
running it to get to inside.
That's a very good idea, boy. A warm up before another plunge. You really have to buckle up. We have been on a roller coaster ride, Alex, for quite a while.
Are you dizzy yet?
Yes.
Well, yeah, we do. Here's the warm up. Look at this. 41 by Friday, and then kaboom. Look at Monday. The rug gets pulled out from underneath us. We have a high of only 3, and that's not counting the wind chill. Remember, the wind chill is what always really matters, at least to our body and acclimating and preparing for dangerous cold. This period will be a very dangerous cold for southern Wisconsin, probably the coldest we've seen so far this season, and then a bit of a reprieve as we head a little bit later next week. So kind of a repeat of what we're seeing this week, but colder. But planning our evening tonight, not quite as cold as what we've been experiencing. We're going to get those wind chills down into the single digits below 0. We probably won't have as many teens below 0 wind chills as we go into the rest of Wednesday morning, but that will change again by early next week. Right now, our current wind chills, it feels like 6 in Madison. That's why that person was running to a building earlier. -5 right now in Juneau, -2 up towards Marquette and Green Lake counties. I'm trying to find some warm wind chills out to the west. Winds must be a little bit lighter out towards Prairie du Chien. Remember, it's the air temperature and the wind that causes that wind chill and the feels like factor. And tomorrow morning, feeling like -10 to the north of Madison. Will do pretty close to -10 across all of southern Wisconsin. And then we get a little reprieve from those really cold wind chills across southern Wisconsin. Coming up, though, in my next weather here, these wind chills -10 are going to be a lot colder come next Monday and next Tuesday, the latest on Alert Day Cold for next week.
Thanks, Alex. A 14-year-old Wisconsin Heights high schooler will be okay after getting hit by a pickup truck. Yesterday, the school district posted on its Facebook a student was hit by a truck in its parking lot after school. UW Med Flight airlifted the student to the hospital. Today, the Dane County Sheriff's Office says the teen is expected to recover from the injuries. The driver of the truck is uninjured and is cooperating with investigators. If a business poses a threat to the environment, what should government agencies do to stop it? That's the question being asked in the state's high courtroom today.
Our Merrill Hubbard breaks down the arguments for who is responsible for business environmental implications.
This morning, the Wisconsin Supreme Court heard a case between the Wisconsin Manufacturers Commerce versus the Department of Natural Resources. The argument is about the DNR's ability to address toxic PFAS under the Wisconsin spill law.
Respondent's position would fundamentally rewrite the spills law.
Colin Roth, representing the DNR, explains that the spill law has been used for nearly 50 years. It requires anyone who causes, possesses, or controls a hazardous substance that was discharged into the environment to take action to restore the affected air, land, and waters.
If agencies cannot administer laws like this one without rulemaking, executive branch activity would grind to a halt.
The respondent, WMC, represents Leather Rich, a small family-owned dry cleaning business based in Oconomowoc. They argue that the DNR should not have as much regulatory power as it has now, and that the legislators should play a bigger role in how the DNR regulates PFAS and other contaminants.
It's a fundamental principle of our legal system that regulated parties have fair notice of what is forbidden or required of them. And it applies to every single business, landowner, individual, even visitors of our state. And that's why rulemaking is required here.
The Supreme Court could rule on this case within the next couple months.
Thank you, Meryl. It's officially been a week since a group of wildfires erupted in Los Angeles, and firefighters are continuing to battle the flames. So far, the Palisades, Eaton, and Hearst fires have burned more than 38,000 acres.
24 people are reported dead and thousands are out of their homes. Our Ellie La Liberté shows us how those around the country, including students at UW-Madison, are being impacted. Ellie?
Clementine and Raleigh Harris have lived in their home in San Fernando Valley for 15 years. Raleigh graduated from UW-Madison in May, and his younger sister Clementine is a freshman. They say they can see these fires from their childhood home.
You just see like a giant red glow and smoke is just coming up over the hill.
On Friday, the siblings evacuated their home because of the fires.
My mom and I described it as like Mount Vesuvius, when Pompeii kind of like was covered. But
the family moving to their grandparents' house in Calabasas, where the wind didn't threaten to start another fire.
We packed a go bag. We had our valuables, we had our identity documents, clothes, all that kind of stuff. So when the time came to really leave, we felt prepared. We weren't fully panicked.
The UW-Madison community reaching out.
It just felt really great to have folks checking on me.
The siblings are now back safe in their home.
At the end of the day, our home is still standing.
Since the fires broke out, more than 200,000 people have received evacuation notices. Now, if you're looking for a way to help those in California, we have a link to donate to the Red Cross up on our website, channel3000.com.
Thank you, Ellie. To Wall Street now, where most U.S. stocks rose following an encouraging update on inflation. The Dow gained 221 points, the Nasdaq fell 44, and the S&P 500 is up 7. We are just 5 days away from the ban of TikTok going into effect.
Our Jalen Banks joins us with how this ban may impact local content creators. Jalen?
January 19th, a day many of the users of the popular video making app TikTok are not looking forward to, because that is the day it is set to be banned in the U.S. And for some local content creators, this may impact a revenue stream of theirs. I had the chance to catch up with Madison native Drew Walls, who does lifestyle and fitness content on the app and has over 200,000 followers. He shares with me his fingers are crossed the app will not go away.
TikTok, you really could be yourself on there. You really can be authentic. You get a lot of information. It's a lot of things that I learned from TikTok, just about like cleaning my house, because I do lifestyle content, and seeing other creators and stuff like that. So it is kind of like a bummer.
Tonight at 6, we'll hear more from Walls on what the next steps are if TikTok does in fact get banned. For now, reporting in Madison, Jalen Banks, News 3 Now.
Thanks, Jalen. As of July 2024, TikTok has more than 120 million users in the U.S.
Still to come today on Live at 4, your daily Wordle game might be better for your mind than you think.
We hear from an SSM psychologist about the benefits of challenging yourself creatively when we come back. On the next Live at 4, 12 Madison area breast cancer survivors share their stories in an inspirational calendar.
And a rare visitor from the Arctic is spotted in the Madison area. We'll learn more about the snowy owl. SSM Health St. Mary's, sorry about that, it's like I need some more coffee, is highlighting studies that show puzzles, games, and brain teasers actually help keep your mind very sharp.
And it's fun to do with a cup of coffee.
It is.
It's not just your brain. Research shows things like jigsaw puzzles can end up keeping your body healthy too. An SSM health psychologist tells us the best type of puzzles to play should be ones you enjoy, but still challenge you.
You're strengthening it by making new connections. You're essentially creating more and more pathways in your brain that fire and make it more resilient to the effects of aging.
And she says it's never too late to start, but the earlier that we make brain teasers part of our life, the sharper we'll be able to keep our minds.
I've been doing some crossword puzzles lately.
That's great.
Kind of fun.
And our producer has an ongoing chess game on her desk,
that's
so
right.
you can come up and make a move, and then she'll make a move. It's great.
Yeah, and every little thing helps.
Yeah.
Madison Magazine's Winter Restaurant Week kicks off this Sunday.
All week on News 3 Now this morning, we'll be giving away restaurant bucks. You can win a pair of Restaurant Week bucks valued at $60 to use at one of 40 participating restaurants. You can enter to win by heading to the website on your screen.
That sounds good. A nice cozy meal on these cold days. Coming up next, a major new study reveals an important link between the top 2 common diseases for women.
UW Health's Dr. Jeff Potoff breaks it down for us when Live at 4 continues. Well, this is a gift for you from our producer, Maggie.
I'm packing my bags right now. Let's go to Honolulu, 79 degrees and sunny.
Does that make you feel better or worse?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Well, a study published today in the Journal of the American Medical Association, or JAMA, shows breast cancer treatments may increase the risk of heart disease.
For the 260,000 women expected to be diagnosed with breast cancer this year, understanding that link is critical. UW Health Chief Quality Officer Dr. Jeff Potoff is here for his weekly visit. Hi,
Hello.
Dr.
Hey, guys.
Potoff.
How are you?
Good to see you. So this study just came out today. What are the risk factors in common here?
Yeah, so I think, the risk factors that we're seeing is this study that looked at about 19,000 women who went on to develop breast cancer, found that about 49% of them had cardiovascular disease. And then if you look at a certain type of breast cancer, which is HR positive, HER2 negative, about 11% of those women, this isn't a good breast cancer, about 34% survival at 5 years, about 11% of them had cardiovascular disease. So I think what we're trying to look at now is this link between cardiovascular disease and breast cancer. And there's some theories on that as far as like the presence of cardiovascular disease can reduce the immune system, which might make cancer more likely. And then are there things we can learn from that so that we know how to better maybe screen women who have cardiovascular disease for the further development of these cancers, which are invasive and sometimes hard to treat?
What about the opposite? What if you're getting treatment for breast cancer? Chemo and radiation can be real gifts to helping people, but they can be very hard on the body. What do they do to the heart then?
Yeah, so there's a lot of literature around kind of like the effects of chemotherapy on the heart, and whether we need to then adjust medications to help be cardioprotective. There's actually at UW Health, I know the physician who specializes in this very kind of cardiovascular medicine. I think what we need to do is be a little bit more mindful of when we do chemotherapy, which is absolutely needed, right? It cures the cancer, about how do we then prevent sequela, especially related to heart disease, of those chemotherapeutic agents. And based on your risk factors, maybe adjust your chemo or add other cardioprotective medications to reduce that risk.
Some of those chemos will target the tumor instead of like going throughout all the body, right?
Yeah, so we've got a lot of like new cancer treatments that are, I would say, like a little bit cleaner. So that when you give these medications, they don't have as much systemic impact and are more targeted. I think as we look at the future of cancer treatment, like that's where we're going. Genetic targets, things that target the actual cancer cells, and then don't have these other effects, which are, suppressing your immune system, attacking other tissues.
So if you're a breast cancer patient, what are the critical questions you need to ask your doctor?
I think you go and you talk to your oncologist and you say, hey, I've got breast cancer. I want to be cured from that. I understand there's a reason to get chemotherapy, but like, what are the effects of the chemotherapy and what can we be doing to mitigate that? Maybe with some particular attention on those cardiovascular risks.
And as always, if something doesn't feel right, advocate for yourselves, listen to your body. Yeah. Well, speaking of bodies, people have been sick a lot.
Yeah.
Crud's going around. Why is that happening?
Yeah, it's that time of year, and I think in the way the good news is that sometimes we see this in December, and we really didn't. We weren't talking a lot about influenza, RSV, COVID, noroviruses out there now. It's here now. It's like everywhere. So I think, for the respiratory viruses, certainly stay home if you're sick, wash your hands, cover your cough. If you're at high risk and you wanted to do something to prevent contraction, like wear a mask, now would probably be the time to do that. And then we have norovirus out there too, so really bad nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Again, wash your hands, wash surfaces, and know that hand gel doesn't work quite as well against norovirus as it does against these other things. So soap and water comes back on stage as a good way to keep yourself safe.
You're seeing some COVID too this winter?
We are. We're starting to finally see, the state data doesn't look too bad yet, but internal data at UW Health, at least here in Dane County, looks like maybe there's a bit of an upward trajectory of COVID right now.
Oh boy. That's all I have to say.
It's all the time, this time of the year when we're all inside, we're all spreading germs,
Awesome.
Thanks for being on with us
You
today.
Good to see you, Dr. Puttoff. See you next week.
Yep. And a big reason why people are staying inside. It is very cold out. Here's Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington.
Just have to look right here behind me as we plan our evening. Not really weather to be outside by any stretch of the imagination. Temperatures dipping down into the single digits and those wind chills getting into the single digits below zero, close to that at 6 p.m. and below zero by the time you get to 10 p.m. Let's track our wind chills as we go a little bit further into the forecast for tomorrow, starting off right between 0 and -10. So that's just between the cold and the cautionary area, not down in the dangerous category, which is good. Then we just go up into the uncomfortably cold range with wind chills getting back up above zero as we go a little bit later into the day. Temperatures in the 20s, clouds will be on the increase as we move forward through the rest of Wednesday. Out ahead of a weak weather system brings a little bit of snow shower activity that will peak right around 8 o'clock. It's not everybody's getting a lot of snow. It's scattered snow showers across southern Wisconsin. You might get a dusting, you might get a ½ inch, but don't let your guard down. Just these past couple mornings, we've had a little bit of dusting of snow, ½ inch, and there have been some slick spots and some accidents. Here we go, 35 and 41. You might consider going outside, maybe for a run. There might be some Wisconsinites that see that 41 as maybe shorts weather worthy for a run, and then you might want to just pack those back into the closet because our temperatures go back down to 3 by the time we go out into early next week. I said to give you a glimpse of those wind chills. Look at these wind chills next Monday morning at 8:30 in the morning, -25 nearly in Madison, pushing -30 to the north in Juneau, Adams, Marquette, and Green Lake counties. That's why we have alert day conditions in effect for next Monday and next Tuesday for morning wind chills of -25 to -30. We're going to be keeping a close tab on this as to whether or not those wind chills will be a little bit warmer or hopefully not any colder than that. That's all part of that 10-day forecast. Those 2 alert days really stick out after that really mild 41. We go right into the polar plunge with a little bit of moderation as we go out in those temperatures a little bit later next week. We'll be right back.
Well, the good news about this bitterly cold weather, it will help extend the life of a winter tourism masterpiece in the North Woods.
For the first time in 4 years, the Ice Castle has returned to downtown Eagle River. The Ice Castle is a beautiful work of art that draws thousands of visitors to the area. Dozens of volunteers cut blocks of ice from Silver Lake and then construct the castle at the historic railroad depot near downtown Eagle River. This year's Ice Castle features 2,000 blocks of ice, each weighing about 90 pounds. They light it up at night.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, puts my little snowman that I made when I was a kid to shame.
Helps you get through this bitter weather.
Yeah, something
See the
nice.
beauty of winter.
We'll be right back. Tomorrow on Live at 4, we'll hear the stories of local breast cancer survivors through an inspirational calendar. And later on News 3 Now at 6, an unexpected guest at an Illinois grocery store. That video looks like it is quite the story. Well, thanks for watching Live at 4 today. We hope to see you back here tomorrow. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.